Hello, I'm Steve with Fitness for Five. I'm here with Professor Jalili, and today, Professor, I'd like to talk about intermediate uh, what is it? Intermediate fasting?
Intermittent fasting.
Okay,
Yeah.
intermittent. What is that?
Yeah. So intermittent fasting, what it is, it's basically a kind of organized plan to go through a period of time that you're fasting, not eating anything. So if you think about like a 24-hour cycle in a day, intermittent fasting would take a portion of that time where the person is fasting. So not just not having meals, but not having any snacks or drinks with calories. Water is permissible, but everything else you abstain from. And the idea behind intermittent fasting is that you go ideally 14 to 16 hours, but even 12 hours is enough to give your body a chance to go into a fasted state where the hormonal balance shifts towards using stored nutrients for fuel, such as fat, such as glycogen. And it's a good tool to help regulate weight control.
Wow. So, how often would you do this, and how many hours would you do it? What's a long fast and what's a
Yeah.
short fast?
So most of the intermittent fasts, in terms of time lengths, are going to go from 12 to 16 hours. Um, the closer you get to 16, I think the better it is in terms of, if your goal is weight loss or weight control. But I think just 12 is kind of the bare minimum. And in terms of how often would you do it, what I generally tell people is just for everyday health, it's probably good to have at least a 12-hour fast every day. Um, and what I mean by that is, like when you have dinner at night, whenever you're done with dinner, let's say you're done at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, then you go at least 12 hours before you eat food again. So if I'm done at 7 in the evening with dinner, yeah, I may have water or some other sort of, um, beverage, like basically non-calorie beverage, but then I won't have anything until 7 a.m. the next day. Give myself a minimum 12 hours, and that's what I do, day to day. Now, if somebody wants to lose weight, they have a weight loss plan. It probably would be helpful for them to go a little more towards 16 hours because that gives them a longer time for their body to get into the fasted state, to have some of those fasting hormones like glucagon be active and really get into a fat burning mode where they tap into their fat stores. Where I think people run into trouble is most of us, because of our schedules and just the way our food culture is, we tend to graze or snack most of the day, and we may even be snacking or having a little of this and that until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Then we go to bed and we wake up the next morning, and the first thing we do, we eat. And maybe we're not sleeping that long because the average American sleeps like 6 or 7 hours a day. So maybe you've only had a 6 or 7 hour fast between the times that you've eaten at night versus the time you wake up in the morning. And so long term, that's kind of tough. That's not really conducive to maintaining body weight. I mean, it's possible, but for a lot of people, that makes it a little tougher.
So you're saying the grazing could make it harder to maintain your weight. So in other words, you're going to gain weight.
Exactly. And it's not just that the calories you're eating, of course, that's part of the weight gain, but it's the fact that every time you have food that has some sort of carbohydrate component, you're activating insulin, and insulin is being released in the body. And what that does, insulin promotes the storage of nutrients. It promotes fat synthesis. It promotes muscle synthesis. It promotes nutrient storage. So if somebody is eating, not just their meals, but also a lot of snacking, and they don't really have a substantial period of time where they have their insulin levels suppressed, then now they're always in this kind of, nutrient storage, fat synthesis mode. So the idea behind intermittent fasting is giving a period of time where insulin levels go down because there's no food stimulating insulin, right? So insulin levels go down, they stay down, and then after a little while, glucagon levels, which is the fasting hormone, go up, and glucagon promotes the use of fat for fuel while we're fasting. So, we kind of have this natural cycle established now where we have insulin up when we eat and we store nutrients, and we have a sustained fasting period where there's no insulin and glucagon is up and we're utilizing our fat stores. That's natural. what we kind of have now in Western society is we're mostly on the insulin side because we're always eating something or drinking something with sugar or calories and always grazing. And so we end up having, say, an 18-hour period of insulin, and not much on the glucagon side. So it promotes more of the nutrient storage and less of the fat utilization.
Yeah, and I know enough about how the body works that insulin can cause a lot of issues. Insulin spikes and all that. It can mess up. Correct me if I'm wrong, but can it, mess up other hormones and other ways that your body is supposed to function?
Well, yeah, just the general issue is just that insulin being up all the time or being, to some degree, in your circulation all the time is not really a natural state. It takes you away from the normal ebb and flow of nutrients that we're supposed to have. And if you think about it this way, imagine your ancestors 20,000 years ago. Maybe they're uh, you know foraging and trying to find food, and maybe they get lucky and they find some berries and find like a squirrel or something and they eat that, and then there's nothing else to eat for like another 20 hours or until the next day or something.
Mhm.
Our biology is equipped to handle that without us falling over and passing out. That's why we have these two different hormone systems. That's why we have fed state biochemistry and fasted state biochemistry. So that's natural. But when we put ourselves into the modern society where there's food everywhere and junk food everywhere and snack options everywhere, we really push ourselves over to that insulin side and we overload that side. And that's not really healthy and natural in the long term. Having excessive insulin activation is just not what our biology is meant for. We're meant to go through normal fed states and normal fasted states.
So what would be a long fast and what would be too many fasts in a certain period of time?
Yeah. Well, a long fast would really be anything probably over 16 hours, 16, 18 hours. That would be a longer fast. You probably kind of tip into more starvation chemistry, once you get like past 24 hours. Again, the body can handle it, but now you start to wonder, is that healthy, right? Because we don't want to tip too much to the other side either, because you don't want to like promote nutrient deficiencies by excessive fasting. Um, and a short fast is really anytime you kind of have your insulin levels drop to the point where they're at baseline. That's you're just starting to get into the fasted state. So what the idea behind the people who want to try intermittent fasting is to get yourself at least that 12-hour window where you have no calories coming in, just you're drinking water but nothing else. And again, that should be like a daily thing. That should be part of your normal healthy daily routine, to try to at least get that 12 hours between dinner and breakfast.
Is a 16-hour fast every day too much?
I don't think it's too much. It is a little harder for some people to do because, it kind of takes you out of your normal social food culture, right? Because let's say you finish dinner at 7 o'clock, 16 hours is going to put you at 11 o'clock before your first meal. So whatever's going on at home or in the office or whatever surrounding food, you're not going to be a part of it because you can't eat until 11. So that's one issue. The other issue is sometimes people just may experience a little bit too much hunger to make the 16 stick. So there are some people that do it all the time, every day. That's part of the routine. But there's some people that maybe would only employ that if they're making an extra effort to lose weight. Uh, I'll give you a I'll give you a good example, right? From my own personal background. Um, Before COVID, I went on a cruise with my family, had a great time, but in a 10-day cruise, I gained like 2 pounds. 2 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm kind of health conscious. So I thought, all right, gain 2 pounds. For me, the easiest way to lose the 2 pounds was go back to my normal exercise and eating routine. But instead of doing the 12-hour every night, I bumped it to 16. And in a week, I lost 2 pounds. And then I went back to my normal 12-hour, that I usually do. And, that was that. So, there's no hard and fast rule. You can do, that sort of approach if you're trying to like lose a little bit of weight for something as like a little extra help, or you can live like that, which again, I know people that do that every night. They're 16 hours. For someone who is, overweight, let's say they want to lose like, 40, 50 pounds, something like that, I would definitely say go with the 16 and go with it for like a while. And at the same time, try to get into an exercise routine as well. And just monitor yourself, see how your weight loss goes, see how you feel. And if you get to the point where you've lost, a lot of weight, you feel good about it, and you want to kind of back off the 16 and go to 12, that's great too.
Wow, that's great information, Professor. And so someone like me or anyone could go 16 hours twice a week and 12 hours the other time, because everyone's different, right? It's kind of feeling out your
Yeah.
body and seeing how it works. So any combination of this, I would think would be something fun for someone in our audience to experiment with. On Mondays and Thursdays, I'm going to do a 16-hour fast.
Hmm.
The other days, I'm just going to do 12. And
Yeah.
12 is not that hard. You eat
Yeah.
at 7, you're not going to eat again till 7 the next morning.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 12 is basically not having those late night snacks. That's what 12 is, which is
yeah,
not too difficult to eliminate.
right. Well, Professor, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we can have you on again, and I appreciate the information and your expertise.
You're welcome. Thanks.